be a flight attendant? Why? Is it because I look like I love my job and I get to fly for free? Do you think the people who work at Disney World love their job, knowing that their daily background music is a baby crying and Disney music every single day? No. Everything that glitters is not gold. Welcome back, Pristine Posse, and welcome if you are new to this channel. Hit that subscribe button so you can be a part of the Pristine Posse. So if you're new, I just wanted to let you guys know that I am a regional flight attendant. I've mentioned that before, but I'm gonna mention it again because some of y'all keep asking in the comments. Regional flight attendant. In today's video, we will be discussing what they don't tell you about being a flight attendant. I will be listing 10 cons. I could probably whip up a few more, but we're just gonna do 10 for the sake of this video. Let's get into it with number 1, not getting paid until the main cabin door is closed. Okay, this is a big one because we get paid based on the flight time, and then we also get paid based on spending the night at a hotel. However, from the time you get to work, you have to report to work at least 30 to 45 minutes before boarding. Then you have to board the plane. That's 25 minutes. Then you close the door. That's already an hour minimum of working and essentially not getting paid. That leads me into con number 2, which is don't let there be a mechanical issue, okay? A mechanical issue is like equivalent to that time of the month just showing up out of nowhere, okay? Honestly, it's like your period comes, party's over, all right? You are seeing red, because the problem with a mechanical issue is like, you don't know if it's gonna be a 20-minute issue that they can just fix, or it can turn into a 2-hour or 4-hour issue. And whenever there's a mechanical issue, we have to open the main cabin door and keep it open, so we're not getting paid, but we're still on board. Not only do you have to sit in the airport or on the plane and wait for the issue to get fixed while not getting paid, once the issue does get solved, you will have to finish working that flight and any other legs you may have for that day. So potentially nothing will get canceled. It just extends your day, wears you out because you've been sitting there and idle for, you know, either 30 minutes or maybe 4 hours, and then you still have to do the rest of your job. I've been in a situation where I was waiting for 2 hours because of a mechanical issue. We ended up having to switch planes, and I still had 3 legs to work, which consisted of an 8-hour day. Still ahead of me. Nonetheless, that was a long, draining day. Con number 3 is that being a reserve flight attendant is so unbelievably unpredictable, okay? There is an opportunity to put yourself on call first, which is basically saying, hey, if you guys need a flight attendant to work a flight, choose me first, right? You can do that, and there are times where they will give you a trip days in advance, which is great, right? When you are given a trip, it's because the original flight attendant who was working it either called out or they dropped the trip. So that's why you are now assigned the trip. However, just because they assign that trip to you on Monday and you don't have to work until Wednesday, on Wednesday, that flight attendant can decide to pick that trip back up, and then they will remove you off that trip. So that's what I mean by unpredictable. Also, there has been times where I have been given a trip in advance. I personally don't put myself on call first because it's still unpredictable. So there has been times where I have been given a trip days in advance, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm ready for that trip, I'm prepped. Literally the day of, they will call me and say, we pulled you off that trip, we're gonna add you to another one. So Doesn't matter whether you put yourself on call first or not. Just because they put a trip in your schedule, they can take it off at any moment and give you a brand new trip. Con number 3 is sitting at the airport on ready reserve. Ready reserve shifts can range from 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. or 6 a.m. to 3 a.m. And you are just sitting at the airport. You need to be in uniform and ready to work. Report to work at flight within 20 minutes. So you're required to be at the airport. I like to call ready reserve ready to risk your job shift because it's such a hit or miss if you get called or not. There have been plenty of times where I've sat at the airport the whole 8 hours and did not get called, and I feel like it's a waste of time. I always tell myself the next time I'm on ready reserve, I'm just not gonna show up because I'm probably not gonna get called. However, I have to tell myself, let's not risk our job, let's just show up because we may get called. There have been 2 times where I've been on ready reserve, and actually 3 now. 3 times where I've been on ready reserved and got called. One time there was only 15 minutes left of my shift. Another time they gave me ready reserve at like 9 o'clock to report by 11 or 12. And then the third time, they just removed the ready reserve and then gave me a trip. It is very hit or miss. And that's 3 times out of about 10 times. Also, even though you are on ready reserve for 8 hours in a day, you only get paid for 4 hours and 4 hours only. Trust me, there is a lot of unpaid labor that comes with this job, okay? You don't work for them free flights, honey. You will be working for those free flights. Be sure to smash that like button if you are enjoying the tea and listening to the reality of this job, and also subscribe if you haven't already done so. Number 5 is going to be traveling from hot to cold to cold to hot, okay? In February, I had a trip from LAX to Salt Lake City. In LAX, it was 75 degrees. Then I went to Salt Lake City and had an overnight, and there was a winter storm. And guess who didn't have her jacket? Guess who got sick? Bring your jacket during cold months, okay? Look at your trip, just bring your jacket. Bring your jacket from January to April, okay? Because in Oklahoma or Ohio, I forgot which one, but it was snowing in April, and I was like, what is going on? I thought we were done with all this. If you're still with me, please let me know in the comments if you enjoy hot weather or cold weather. Actually, let's kick it up a notch. If you had to choose, do you want to be in a desert or do you want to be in an ice storm? Let me know in the comments. Let's really get into con number 6, okay? I like to call these flights my bless your heart flights. Personally, if I could drop these flights to these states, I would drop every single last one of them, because I promise you, every single flight that I have with these passengers, there are at least a few. There has never been a flight where there's none. So there are at least a few that just leave their marbles at the gate. They leave their marbles right at the gate. When they get on board, they are just, y'all, I don't, bless it, just bless it. Like, I don't have any other words, okay? In no particular order, these 4 states, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Arkansas, do not bid for me, okay? Like, these passengers will come on board, not all passengers, but every flight. There are passengers on these flights who will get on and they're like, these Southern folks are literally asking me, am I the pilot? Okay. They are assigned in row 9 and sitting in row 17. We're in flight and they are trying to open the main cabin door, asking, is that the restroom? They are standing at the lab for 15 to 20 minutes saying they can't open it, and no one's in there. Bless it. Just bless it. That's all I can say. Bless it, okay? Bless their heart. Let's move on. Con number 7 is gonna be the fact that we have no supervisor waiting for us at the plane. Kind of makes things a little bit difficult when someone is missing. So if a flight attendant is missing, or basically if we're missing a crew member, it could be the pilot, first officer, we can't take off, right? We don't have each other's number. So the only way that we can try to figure out where the other crew member is by calling crew support. The problem with this con is that when you need to call crew support, you better believe that when you need them, there's going to be a hold time of about an hour, okay? There's been a time where we were looking for the pilot. The pilot was MIA. We had to call crew support because crew support is essentially the middleman to get in contact with the crew member and figure out where they are. So the crew member had to call crew support. They were on hold for about an hour. And then when crew support tried to get in contact with the missing crew member, they couldn't get in contact with them because the missing crew member was in flight. Would you look at that? So basically we spent about 3 hours just waiting for a response because that person had to get off the plane, and then we were able to like get in contact and figure out what was going on. Also, in terms of calling out, it is just my luck that there's also very long hold times, okay? I had to call out on January 1st of this year, and while I was waiting on crew support to answer the phone, I had time to fold my clothes, put up the dishes, and take a shower. You know why? Because I was on hold for an hour and 42 minutes. An hour and 42 minutes because the call lines were going crazy. Mind you, I called them at like 4 in the morning because I was like, you know what? I know that I'm not gonna be ready to go to work. If I have to go to work, I'm not gonna be ready. So I was like, let me just go ahead and call them and use my personal emergency now. You would think that the call lines wouldn't be busy at 4 in the morning, but it was. Listen, you better believe that there will always be high call volumes during winter storms, holidays, and weekends, okay? And when I say long call times, I mean an hour minimum. So do not hang up the phone and call again because you will lose your spot in the queue. So stay on hold, put yourself on mute, put your earphones in, and start completing some errands while you wait. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to be a part of the Pristine Posse so that you can get real tea time on the flight attendant life. Con number 8 is going to be getting a SAD. So you can only get 3 SADs in a year. And a SAD is basically when you are unable to report to work within the 2 hours that you need to be at work. So for example, you need to be at work by 2 o'clock. However, let's say you got into a car wreck. You call crew support at 1:30, like, hey, I'm not gonna be able to make it. They're gonna say, okay, well, that's a SAD. And you're gonna have to take that L, right? SADs can happen at any moment, you know, anything can happen. You can get into a car wreck, your car not working. You know, unreliable transportation is a big one and a big reason why people get SADs. Not having all your required items when you get to work, you know, like a passport or your uniform or your badge, and then you have to go all the way back home and there's traffic. Traffic, that's a big one, okay? There was one time when I almost got a SAD because there was a Dallas Cowboys game and, you know, Texas be acting like the president is here, and traffic was just at a standstill. There are so many reasons why you're not going to be able to make it within the 2 hours. Also, if you have kids and, you know, maybe a babysitter is a no-show. So anything can happen. Listen, when you get one SAD in a year, it's like, okay, it's whatever. It's one SAD. 2 SADs, okay, it's time to tighten up. If you're on SAD number 3 in 1 year, you are walking on eggshells, and it's time to start applying for another job because they about to pack you up, okay? The next con on the list is gonna be being on probation for a year. Listen, I've had jobs where I've been on probation for 30 days, 2 weeks, maybe even 3 months, like a 90-day period, but you want me to play my role for 365 days? Listen, I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. I'm shocked that I made it past probation, okay? But the best advice I can give you is that you need to space out your emergencies, your excuses that you can use for if you're not gonna be able to show up to work. You need to space them out, 1 per quarter, so that's 1 per 3 months. And if you have 1 extra, be able to have 1 extra, okay? Also, if you're in an area where weather can get crazy, as in winter storms, hailstorms, tornadoes, ice storms, you need to save at least 1 emergency for weather. Towards the end of my probation, I only had 1 emergency left, and I was like, okay, we're fine, we're coasting. However, there was a winter storm in Dallas, and Texas is just, they don't have the infrastructure to defrost or just get rid of all that ice. So the roads were icy. It was so icy to the point where it was just unsafe to drive to work. I was not about to risk driving on ice just to get to work. So I used my last personal emergency on weather. So definitely space out your emergencies, leave room for literal emergencies. And one more tidbit while we're on the topic of using excuses. If you say you are sick, let's say you told them you got Miss Rona or whatever else, and you put in a doctor note, do not take a trip, okay? Because I promise you, crew support will call you and say, hey, we see that you put in a doctor's note, but you just arrived in London? That's weird. And then you're sitting there like, Sweetie, I hope you booked your ticket back because you're fired. Do not get caught up in trying to use an excuse and take a trip. That's a bonus con I will say with this job. I've had other jobs, you know, call out, I'm going to take a trip, but I said I was sick. With this job, not much room for finesse. Cannot be lying, saying you're sick, and then you're going to Barbados or Jamaica or London, okay? You gotta make it make sense. You cannot be flying and saying you're sick. And the last con that I have for you guys is that being a flight attendant truly affects your personal life and your relationships with others. So there will be times where I have family members or even friends who call me for emergencies, and their calls go straight to voicemail because I am in the air, in flight, working. So sometimes important things that are happening in others' lives and they just want to pick up the phone and talk to you, you can't talk because you're working. Then let's say you land in LA, all of your friends are in New York, so completely different time zones, and when you're available to talk, they're asleep. Then when they want to call you in the morning, you're asleep because it's like earlier over there and you have to get ready to work. So you really have to work a little bit harder to maintain your personal relationships with others. Also, not being able to take off for family functions or even funerals because you're not able to take off. Most importantly, the fur babies suffer the most because it's not like you can tell them, hey, I'll be back in 3 days, don't worry. You know, they don't understand that. They just see you leaving and being gone for days at a time. Like, I can promise you that Pepper thinks every time I walk out the house, I'm leaving him for dead. And he is super happy when I come back and shocked, like, oh my God, she's back, I'm happy. So it definitely gets hard being a flight attendant and having a fur baby that has separation anxiety. Those are all my cons to the flight attendant lifestyle. I hope you guys enjoyed those cons, and be sure to check out my other video about the pros or benefits of being a flight attendant. Of course, all jobs are gonna have pros and cons. Like, that's the reality of working any job, but it's ultimately up to you to decide if the pros outweigh the cons. Because what I will say is that you do not need to stay at a job that does not serve you. If you find yourself always complaining, it's time to go. Make sure you guys talk to me in the comments, because I'm really trying to figure out, am I talking to myself? Are you watching the video? Or also, if you're a flight attendant, please let us know in the comments some other cons that I may have missed. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.